श्री राधा गोविंद देव भगवान की। हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की
जय।
नाम संकीर्तन की। तंत्रा श्रीमद् भागवतम की। हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण। Hare Krishna. Welcome for today's discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam. This morning we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 9. Dhruva Maharaj returns home, Shloka number 66. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttama-shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishthiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. 4.9.66. Vikshōdhavayasam tam cha prakritīnām cha sammatam anurakta prajam raja dhruvam chakre bhuvah patim. Vikshōdhavayasam tam cha prakritīnām cha sammatam anurakta prajam raja dhruvam chakre bhuvah patim. Vikshōdhavayasam tam cha prakritīnām cha sammatam anurakta prajam raja dhruvam chakre bhuvah patim. Prakritīnām cha sammatam anurakta prajam raja chakre bhuvah patim. वीक्षोढवयसं तं च प्रकृतीनां च सम्मतम् अनुरक्तप्रजं राजा ध्रुवं चक्रे भुवः पतिम् वीक्षोढवयसं तं च प्रकृतीनां च सम्मतम् अनुरक्तप्रजं राजा चक्रे भुवः पतिम्. Word to word meaning. Vikshya, after seeing. Udha vayasam, mature in age. Tam, dhruva, cha, and prakritinam, by the ministers. Cha, also. Sammatam, approved of. Anurakta, beloved. Prajam, by his subjects. Raja, the king. Dhruvam, Dhruva Maharaj. Chakre, made. Bhuvaha, of the earth. Patim, master. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. When, after concentration, King Uttanapada saw that Dhruva Maharaj was suitably mature to take charge of the kingdom and that his ministers were agreeable and the citizens were also very fond of him, he enthroned Dhruva as emperor of this planet. Purport. Although it is misconceived that formerly the monarchical government was autocratic, from the description of this verse, it appears that not only was King Uttanapada a Rajarshi, but before installing his beloved son Dhruva on the throne of the empire of the world, he consulted his ministerial officers, considered the opinion of the public, and also personally examined Dhruva's character. Then the king installed him on the throne to take charge of the affairs of the world. When a Vaishnava king, like Dhruva Maharaj, is the head of the government of the entire world is so happy that it is not possible to imagine or describe. Even now, if people would all become Krishna conscious, the democratic government of the present day would be exactly like the kingdom of heaven. If all people became Krishna conscious, they would vote for persons of the category of Dhruva Maharaj. If the post of chief executive were occupied by such a Vaishnava, all the problems of satanic government would be solved. The youthful generation of the present day is very enthusiastic in trying to overthrow the government in different parts of the world. But unless people are Krishna conscious like Dhruva Maharaj, there will be no appreciable changes in governments, because people who hanker to attain political position by hook or by crook cannot think of the welfare of the people. They are only busy to keep their position of prestige and monetary gain. They have very little time to think of the welfare of the citizens. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshuh Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroh Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्णकरुणासिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकाकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. I seek the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas for speaking something on Srimad Bhagavatam in Parampara for my own purification and the glorification of the Lord. So, we are seeing almost the conclusion of this chapter where Dhruva Maharaj is returning home. And the previous verses, there was very nice description of how he is received, how he is welcomed back into the kingdom. His father, Uttanapada, is now installing Dhruva as is like considering installing Dhruva as the next king, his successor, his next emperor of the planet. So, if we see the way Uttanapada behaved and the way Dhruva Maharaj behaved, it's very interesting to see who is the real cause of Dhruva Maharaj going to the forest. At one level, if you see, it is Suruchi. Because of Suruchi's harsh treatment, Dhruva felt very hurt. But it is not only Suruchi, it is also Uttanapada who contributed for it. Because when Suruchi, his stepmother, spoke those harsh words, actually it was the duty of Uttanapada to kind of take charge of the situation and defend Dhruva. But unfortunately, being very attached to Suruchi, Uttanapada did not do that. So it is explained that certainly Suruchi's harsh words offended Dhruva, undoubtedly. But it is explained that more than that, it was the silence of Uttanapada that hurt Dhruva more. Because naturally, if stepmother is insulting, it's understandable. But here is his own father, Uttanapada, who is actually in a position to defend him. But unfortunately, Uttanapada did not defend Dhruva. in that particular setting. So Uttanapada at that point of time was afflicted by weakness of heart, as it is said, Hridaya Daurbalyam, and he could not do the right action to control Suruchi's harshness at that time. Times have changed. Dhruva went to the forest, attained the darshan of the Supreme Lord in 6 months by severe tapasya. Now Dhruva is coming back. So seeing the great achievement of Dhruva, Uttanapada also kind of felt very happy. So if you see, Uttanapada is not a ill-intentioned person. He does not carry any ill intentions towards Dhruva Maharaj. But he was kind of afflicted by attachment to Suruchi. But now he is rectifying his behavior. And he is kind of doing what is appropriate towards his son Dhruva Maharaj. So in the first paragraph of the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains the difference between monarchy and hierarchy. So what's happening here? Uttanapada is considering that it is time for me to install Dhruva as the next emperor of the planet. So he waited for the time when Dhruva Maharaj was suitably mature to take charge of the kingdom. So this is the first thing Uttanapada kind of considered. Is my son sufficiently qualified, sufficiently mature enough to play the role of the emperor? Because leadership is a very responsible position. Leadership is not, any child's play. Leadership is a very serious role. So Uttanapada considered, is Dhruva sufficiently mature to play the role? Which means any leader in any position also needs to develop the right qualification, the right maturity, the right even competence to play that role, right? Nowadays, if you see, if somebody has to be a doctor, there is a certain degree for that. Somebody has to be an engineer, there is a certain degree for that, right? With different names in different countries. With graduation, they have to do that. Somebody has to be a lawyer, then there is a degree for that. But if somebody has to be a politician, right? Practically there is no training, there is no proper guidance for somebody to be a public leader or a politician. So whoever can dominate others, whoever can, make their point strong, whether they are correct or wrong, whether they are ethical or unethical, they win the game, right? But democracy, current democracy is going like this. But during the Vedic times, the monarchical government was not like that. One who has to be the leader, the emperor or even the people below the emperor, they were properly guided based on the Shastras by experienced personalities in that particular field. And hence all the kings were called as Rajarshis. So Uttanapada was also one such Rajarshi. So he considered whether Dhruva is sufficiently mature to play the role. And second thing he considered is whether his ministers were agreeable and the citizens were also very fond of him. Is it acceptable for all the ministers to make Dhruva the next emperor? And are the citizens fond of Dhruva? That also he verified. Why? Because if all the people are in favor of the agreement, then they will receive the decision very, very gladly. Very, very properly they will accept Dhruva's leadership, right? Imagine all the citizens are not in favor of Dhruva. All the ministers are not positively disposed towards Dhruva. And Dhruva is made the king there. Dhruva is posted as a king. Then what is likely to happen? Non-cooperation movement, right? They'll raise their flags. We are not going to. Dhruva will give an advice. So, all the citizens do this. And all the citizens will raise a red flag. So, that's why he is considering whether, everyone is acceptable for the decision. So Prabhupada distinguishes this kind of monarchical government with autocratic government, or you can also call it as dictatorship. What is dictatorship? Dictatorship, or Prabhupada uses the word autocratic, that the dictator decides and then he just, gives the final conclusion or a judgment, and everyone is bound to follow it. But monarchical government is not like that. This also does not mean that opinions of everybody is considered irrespective of the principles from the Shastra. So, the difference between this kind of opinion taking in the monarchical government and the current democratic government is, within the monarchical government, if any decision is taken and people are asked their opinions, the people who are asked, even they are very qualified, even they are very knowledgeable from the Shastras. So only the qualified men, a group of ministers who are very, very knowledgeable in the Shastras, their opinions are taken into consideration for decision making. And of course, in a kingdom like this, when all the people are very Krishna conscious, when all the people are very spiritually minded, then the decisions which are given in such a government, even if it is democracy, will be like very constructive. Whereas, as Srila Prabhupada describes democracy as government of the Shudras, by the Shudras, and for the Shudras. So when people in general are inclined for very lower forms of enjoyment, then if their decisions are asked, then that kind of democracy, then the decisions in that kind of democracy will be very, not very constructive. They are not helpful for the overall upliftment of the society. So what did he do here? He consulted his ministerial officers, considered the opinion of the public, and also personally examined Dhruva's character. And then he kind of confirmed his decision and enthroned Dhruva as the emperor of the planet. So it's important to take the viewpoints of the individuals, viewpoints of the qualified men into consideration in the decision-making process. Then the king installed him on the throne to take charge of the affairs of the world. And the same thing we find in the Ramayana also, where Dasharatha Maharaj consults the whole Sabha of ministers before giving the decision of making Rama the next king, right? In fact, very surprisingly, when Dasharatha Maharaj asks that opinion from all the ministers, so what do you all feel about installing Rama on the throne? At once, there was a huge uproar of acceptance Yes, we are very eager for Rama to become the king. We are very, very glad. We are very delighted. And in fact, we are waiting when will Rama become the king. So hearing that, Dasharatha was simultaneously happy and unhappy. Why was he happy? He was happy that all the citizens are in agreement with Rama's becoming the next king. But he was also slightly put to thought. Am I such a bad king? Are you not happy with my rule? Are you not happy with me that you are so eager for Rama to become the next king? Is there anything wrong with me? Am I not, are you not satisfied with me? Are you not happy with me that you just are waiting when will Rama become the next king? Of course, Dasharatha himself wants Rama to become the next king, but Ramayana explains that he had this thought in mind that are people unhappy with my rule or what? That kind of a feeling he had. The point here is he also consulted before making Rama the next king. And in the second paragraph of the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions about the situation of the government. If the leaders as well as the citizens are Krishna conscious, what will be the condition of the government? And if the citizens in general are very atheistic, are very materialistic, then what will be the situation? You see, if the Vaishnava king like Dhruva Maharaj is the head, then the world is so happy that it is not possible to imagine or describe. So if the leader is a great devotee of the Lord, if the leader is a Rajarshi, then the kingdom will be very, very happy, as mentioned here. And thus we find the rule of Yudhishthira Maharaj, the rule of Ambarish Maharaj, the rule of Prahlad Maharaj, and certainly the rule of Lord Rama, which is described as Ramaraja. It's very, very beautiful. It's described in the pages of the Shastra. Even in the modern times, we find kings like Kulashekar Alvar, within the history of Shiva Vaishnava Sampradaya. He's a great king, but he's also a very great devotee. So his entire time was absorbed in Krishna Katha or Rama Katha. And it is said that the kingdom would be taken care. The kingdom was going on so well, even without his active kind of getting into all the details and all. Because when people are Krishna conscious, it's easy to run things very properly. Why? Because administration or ruling government, if it is based on inspiration, then automatically people will follow the rules. Automatically people will follow the discipline. Automatically they will abide by whatever is expected of them. So that inspiration is generated when the right inspiration is generated when one is Krishna conscious. That's how the kings of the Vedic times used to rule very effectively. And of course, there were miscreants, there were trouble-giving elements, and kings were powerful enough to subdue them, timely. So Prabhupada is mentioning here, even now, if people would all become Krishna conscious, the democratic government of the present day would be exactly like the kingdom of heaven. That means Prabhupada is mentioning that if people are Krishna conscious, our whole society will be turned into heaven or spiritual world. Our whole society can have such a glorious condition if all the people are very Krishna conscious. But unfortunately, because people are not Krishna conscious, then we see all kinds of troubles, all kinds of problems, all kinds of issues in the government and in the society at large. So the leader, there is responsibility on the part of the leader, and there is also responsibility on the part of the citizens. So it's a two-way game. And on the other hand, also Prabhupada is mentioning, because the society at large is not Krishna conscious, the government is satanic and the people are atheistic. So what's happening? Youthful generation is very enthusiastic to overthrow the government in different parts of the world. And this we see repeatedly, right? Very recently, there was a country where all the people revolted, drew the prime minister out of the country, and there was a huge uproar in the country, and it took great effort to kind of deal with that. So, unless people are Krishna conscious, there will be no appreciable changes in government, because people who hanker to attain political position by, by hook or by crook cannot think of the welfare of the people. So leadership is a position to serve. As see the last statement, they have very little time to think of the welfare of the citizens. So the position of leadership is meant to think of the welfare of the citizens. The position of leadership is not meant to accumulate power, is not meant to just accumulate money, or is not meant to exert one's power or authority in unhealthy ways. So as Prabhupada mentions, by hook or crook, they cannot think of the welfare of the people. So leadership is actually meant for doing welfare for others. They are only busy to keep their position of prestige and monetary gain. So this is the unfortunate situation of many leaders in the society today. Yet Prabhupada is giving a direction. Srila Prabhupada is giving a direction for everyone at all stages. There is leadership of the country, there is leadership of a state, there is leadership within any community, there is leadership within any family, there is leadership in any organization, there is leadership in any institution, there is leadership at all levels actually. In any community there is leadership. So these principles are helpful for effective leadership in any community. So today also happens to be the wonderful appearance of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So we can see our acharyas have played such glorious role when they were guiding the society, when they were in a position where they were actually teaching people Krishna consciousness, when they were preaching Krishna consciousness in their times. They played such responsible roles, and they played such a responsible or they gave such a responsible contribution to the society at large. So today, let us, within the available time, let us briefly reflect on some of the glories of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, born in 1838 in Bir Nagar, Bengal, in a respectable family. If you see the history of our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, there were times of ups and downs always. Our Sampradaya went through times when it was flourishing, and there were also times when it was in a very, very difficult period. So during the times of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the six Goswamis, the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, started by Madhavendra Puri, and then subsequently it's Lord Chaitanya, who is the pioneer of this, and then assisted by the six Goswamis. It flourished like anything. Then after some time there was some challenges after the times of the six Goswamis, which was again revived back, and the glory of the Sampradaya was again established during the period of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and mainly by Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan, who kind of established the authenticity of the Sampradaya by writing the commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, Gaudiya commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, Govinda Bhashya. Again, after Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan Pad, again our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya went through a very challenging phase, where many Apasampradayas took over, many wrong deviant philosophical sects emerged, claiming themselves to be followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but they are not representing the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Goswamis as they were as it is. So the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, when he appeared, was this period actually. Many people are claiming to be followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but they are not representing properly. That was also the time dominated by British colonialism, Western influence, and decline in pure Vaishnava practice in the areas of India. That was a time when Britishers were just entering the country, and influence of other religions. If you see, previous to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, our acharyas never have to encounter other religions, actually speaking. It was all Sanatana Dharma. But it was only during the times of Bhaktivinoda Thakur that other religions started. Of course, there was Islam, but from a Vaishnavism point of view, from a philosophical, clarification point of view, it was Bhaktivinoda Thakur who had to face this for the first time in the history. Pseudo-Vaishnava sect, Sahajiyas, caste Goswamis, they all had overshadowed Lord Chaitanya's teachings. So, that was a time when Bhaktivinoda Thakur appeared as a reformer, as a scholar and acharya to revive the movement. So, had it not been for Bhaktivinoda Thakur's appearance, Gaudiya Vaishnavism would not have emerged again back to the current shape which we are seeing, again back to a very vibrant situation which is now. So it was actually Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Subsequently, we find the next Acharya, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and subsequently our Srila Prabhupada. So some of the important contributions of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, one of the thing is rediscovery of the Yogapeeth, of the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Before Bhaktivinoda Thakur, there were a group of people who claimed a place on the other side of Ganges to be Yogapeeth. But when Bhaktivinoda Thakur was trying to understand all the maps and all the description given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, then he discovered that actually the place which they are earlier claiming is not the correct place. So he was doing all this exploration and verification. So one day from his house on the other side of the Jalangi river, he saw a bright light emerging from one particular spot. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur kind of got an indication that indication towards that place. So then in order to confirm that place, he carried Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj on a basket, because he's so old. Some devotees say he's like 120 years, and some even say he was at that time was 140 years. So he was not even able to open the eyelids. So when Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj was carried to that place, then he kind of jumped, he leaped high up in the sky, and he proclaimed actually Eitto Nimai Janmastan, right? He leaped high in the sky and he kind of confirmed it. Before this also, we find Bhaktivinoda Thakur struggle to get even one copy of Chaitanya Charitamrita. At that time, the access became so less. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami wrote the Chaitanya Charitamrita, but it is not very easily accessible in the society. Now, if we want, all we need to do is just order from the BBT, and it is. Yes, Prabhu? Yeah, or contact our Prabhuji, Kanagopal Prabhu, and it's there in our hands directly, right? But in those days, it takes, it is said, there are some places it is said Bhaktivinoda Thakur was searching for Chaitanya Charitamrita for 10 years. And some places it says 15 years. Which means, so many years he had to struggle to get one copy of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was actually exploring many religious philosophies. And then when he read the philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, the philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that's when he concluded that this is the highest understanding of God. And thus he dedicated his life for propagation of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote more than 100 books. in Bengal, Sanskrit and English, of which the prominent ones are Jaiva Dharma, Chaitanya Shikshamrita, Harinama Chintamani, Sharanagati Bhajans, Sajjana Toshani magazine. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur presented Bhakti philosophy in a way that even Western thinkers could appreciate. Because previous to that, we find all the acharyas, mainly they commented in Bengali or Sanskrit. Practically, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is one of the first acharyas to kind of deal with the English audience. So he presented Gaudiya Vaishnavism in a way that even the Western thinkers could appreciate. So in 1885, he wrote that the day will come when devotees from all nations will chant in unity, Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hari, Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hari. He gave that prediction. So undoubtedly this prophecy came true by the glorious efforts of Srila Prabhupada in the form of ISKCON movements all over the world. Now, as far as Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's personal life is concerned, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's lifestyle is concerned, it's very exemplary. As a magistrate, he balanced government service and spiritual leadership. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is a shining example for all the grihasthas. How a grihastha, despite performing worldly duties, can remain very Krishna conscious and do great contribution in preaching. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is a wonderful example. He organized the Namahatta movement, marketplace of the holy name, with thousands of preaching centers across Bengal and Orissa. He gave the practical model for congregational preaching that even ISKCON continues to kind of emulate that model. So we all heard of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's efficiency in performing work, right? What would take days and weeks for others, sometimes even months, Bhaktivinoda Thakur would just sort out things in minutes, being a magistrate. That was because of the spiritual Shakti, because of his connection to Paramatma. He would not need so much, evidence. It was just, evident for him, just by seeing the body language of a person or just by seeing the behavior of a person, he would immediately tell, hey, you are the thief, you are the culprit. And he would give his judgment very, very quickly. A householder with many children, including Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he showed how one can live in society, do professional work, and still be a pure devotee. So it's not that a pure devotee means he has to be a sannyasi or he has to renounce everything, he has to leave the society. Even while staying in the society, while performing their duties, one can have very exalted consciousness and be a pure devotee. So that was exhibited by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. His lifestyle refutes the misconception that one must renounce externally to be spiritually advanced. So this is Yukta Vairagya by Srila Rupa Goswami Pada, right? It's not that one has to externally renounce everything. Even while engaging everything of this world in the Lord's service, one can be a great devotee. So, some of the highlights of his teachings. The central theme of the writings of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is Shuddha Bhakti, the Uttama Bhakti as given by Srila Rupa Goswami Pada in the Nectar of Devotion, which is free from karma, jnana and all material desires, karma, jnana, yoga and all. So that's why you see the bhajans written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur are very prominent. In fact, every day we sing Jai Radha Madhava, right? It's actually given by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, a beautiful meditation on Shri Vrindavan Dham. So one of the speciality of the bhajans of our acharyas, Narottam Das Thakur, Lochan Das Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, one of the speciality why we focus on the Vaishnava bhajans is because they are based on the principles of Shuddha Bhakti. They are based on the principles of pure devotional service, unmixed with karma, jnana, yoga and any other contaminations. And his teachings also include Sharanagati, faith, acceptance of the Lord's protection. Right, the six symptoms of Sharanagati. Right, Anukulyasya sankalpaha, Pratikulyasya varjanam, Rakshishyati iti vishvaso, Goptritve varanam tatha, Atma nikshepa karpanye, Shad vida Sharanagatihi. So that is also one of the prominent teachings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And he also focused on propagating the holy name. And thus he said, he wrote this book Harinama Chintamani, which kind of goes into details of the 10 offenses and how we should be careful about avoiding them. He warned against hypocrisy, sectarianism, and external show of devotion. So, he also propagated that bhakti is not limited to caste, creed, nationality, or any race. Bhakti is universal and it can be practiced by one and all. So, some of the inspiring quotes from teachings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. When will that day come when people from America, England, France, Germany, and all over the world will come to Mayapur and join with Bengali Vaishnavas to chant Hari Bol, Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hari together. No? So that's the prediction of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that across the globe, all the nations, they will come. So in the Sharanagati, Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes, I have no shelter but you, O Lord, I am yours alone. So that Ananya Bhakti is there in the teachings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And thus, because of such great personality, because of such enormous devotional contribution, and also another contribution is he prayed to the Lord, my dear Lord, on my own, I do not have the strength to continue it all alone. I need help. Please, send a ray of Vishnu. It was Bhaktivinoda Thakur's prayer. As a result, Vimala Prasad, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was born, and he continued the legacy. So, and thus, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is, being a Grihastha, he is called as the 7th Goswami. Right? We have the 6 Goswamis, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur is the 7th Goswami in our line. So, we are very fortunate that our Acharyas are so glorious. They have shown by their own example, they have given us a clear path. We do not have to explore now anything new. We do not have to experiment. We do not have to invent anything new. All we need to do is take their teachings and follow faithfully and propagate them. So we'll end with the Pranati Mantra of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanugavarayate. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Nitai Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.